This still remains Formula for Everyday podcast with your host, Lawrence Nkwocha. I had a very profound thought during the day while I was at work and just thinking about all my routine. Today, I've been able to do a couple of things. Today was a very good day. Going through my to-do list, I've been able to achieve a couple of things, and I was just thinking about a specific topic, and it made me stay. Like I became more thoughtful, and I wrote down a couple of things that I couldn't just wait to share with my audience here. Um, what I've been thinking about is how you need to be shameless in order to be able to sell your product or services to those that you want to solve their problems and those that would need you to solve their problems. Okay. In thinking about how you can become shameless as a marketer or as a person that sells either products or services, a business owner, an employee, as an employee, you need to be able to sell your skills to your employer. Even as an employer of labor, you need to be able to sell your company or your organization to those you would like to recruit to join your team, to take it to the next level. So every at every point of your life, you basically need to sell. And it just reminds me of this book by Napoleon Hill, Sell Your Way Through Life. So I was just thinking about everything, and I was able to coin this topic. It takes a lot of practice to become shameless. So you see, I thought about my early experience when I was in undergraduate. um I have not always been a very outspoken person, but for most of the time, I've been very shy about how I express myself. But with time, I started realizing that, yes, in spite of the fact that I'm very talented and very skilled, nobody will actually get to know that I have a lot to offer if I don't sell them on my skills and competence. So while I was in undergraduate back in University of Jos, not very outspoken, but I wanted to run for the position of public relation officer because it was more it was more of a position that had to do with publicity. And I've always been a very good, profound writer. I was writing poems, I was writing a couple of stuff. So I also wanted to challenge myself, to build my competence and all that. So I ran for the position of public relation officer. And it was so surprising because I had to pitch, I had to do a campaign manifesto to actually get people to vote for me to become the public relation officer. And it was a very challenging period because my voice was not loud, my legs were shaking. I was standing in front of people that were more than me. I think I was in about 200 level, and I was standing before people that are in higher levels. They were higher up there, and I had to convince them that I was actually the guy that they needed to vote for to become public relation officer. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for joining in. Thank you. So I had to convince them that I was the guy that they needed to vote to become public relation officer. So you see, it was a very, very trying period for my life. In fact, I had to make posters, I had to share flyers for people to come out and vote for me to run for public relation officer. But you see, that singular experience entirely changed my life, and it even gave me more confidence because the next year in school, I ran for president, and it was a more tougher battle because I had to, running for bigger office. You also need to have political allies. You need to. It's more of a convincing thing. The battle was stiffer. So, but the whole foundation was running for publication officer. It gave me that confidence to be able to run to become president of my department, and it just made me realize that you require a lot of practice to become shameless, especially when it comes to selling. Because what I realized from last year is, being in the media and entertainment space, we try to sell a lot of products, we try to sell services. I edit videos, I do a couple of things, videography and just a couple of services in the industry. But I realize that the most important products you need to sell is yourself. You need to be able to sell yourself, and selling yourself requires a whole lot of shamelessness. You need to kick away shame and be very focused that okay, you can actually sell somebody on the prospect of what you can do for their business or what you can do for their organization when it comes to selling. So just thinking about how I was able to speak up and actually get what I wanted, that's in terms of the position, just made me start thinking about it, made me start thinking deeply about what it means to be shameless. So another experience I would like to share is very recently I've been having these childhood fantasies of um, doing the MMA. I'm not a very buff guy. I'm not like very buff and muscular, but I've always loved the idea of fighting, even though it's fighting for screen, not fighting, like not violence, like but just fighting for screen, because I love action films. I love to see the fight choreography in films. If you watch films like Warrior, see that character Assam, see that the guy is a very lanky guy. If you also see some characters like Spider-Man, these are lanky characters, but they are very, very iconic on screen. So in spite of the fact that their body frame is not as buff, but they are able to give a lot of like their martial art is good enough. So just thinking about the fact that I would love to do martial art, then I started thinking about how I can actually do it this year. So what I do is that every morning I step out and I go to the front of my street where cars are passing. When there are less cars, I shadow box, and I've been doing I've been going through tutorials for MMA, the basics of MMA, the type of kicks you're supposed to do, how you throw punches, with blocking your face. And so it has just been interesting for me. And most times when I start doing this shadow boxing, I see kids going to school, I see parents driving their kids to school, and a lot of people just look at me and say, who exactly is this guy? I mean, their facial of course they can't say that to me, but what their facial expression gives is who exactly is this guy and what is he doing punching the air. But what I've realized is, because I mean I started doing it I think from mid last month, and I've done it a couple of times now, and I'm getting more and more confident on in doing it. It's becoming more and more interesting. It's becoming more and more intriguing. I'm motivated more to go through these tutorials, and so. But the entire point of and lesson I was able to get from this experience is that you need to be very shameless when it comes to selling. So I believe that whenever, because a lot of people have seen me do it, a lot of people have seen me punch in the air, shadow boxing early in the morning, and I can say my kicks are getting better. My the way I throw my punches too are getting better, and generally I'm also getting more and more flexible. I'm also trying to keep myself fit, so like whenever I get the opportunity to play as an action star in an action film, I'm able to show up with confidence. So that's the shamelessness it takes to actually sell myself on being an action star. So I just realized that like it's the same thing that applies to every other aspect of our life. Even in my job, I've been I've stepped into interviews where I got to underprice myself. When employers or recruiters ask you questions like what's your salary expectation, because of the fact that you are kind of ashamed of, or you're shy to actually talk about your worth, because you don't want to feel like you are saying too much or you're speaking too highly of yourself. But the truth is, the fact still remains that if you don't sell yourself to tell people what you are worth, the world will underprice you by default. They are going to underrate you. If you don't tell the world that this is what you're actually worth and this is how you can be able to deliver value, the world is bound to they're bound to underrate you. They're bound to underprice you in whatever it is that you do. So um marketing is an integral part of whatever it is that you're going to be doing in this life. No matter how good and talented and skilled you are, if you don't market well enough, you will never be able to sell. And if you are not able to sell, then your product or your service is going to forever remain in the shelf and nobody's going to know about it. So it's very important for you to understand that shamelessness is the best way to sell. You need to be no, and shamelessness is not about being it's not about being ras. It's not about doing anything indecent in particular. It's about knowing that you are the true symbol or the first believer of whatever it is that you do, because nobody knows you as much as you know yourself. And you must be able to articulate your words and your presentation well enough in order to be able to get somebody convinced. Shamelessness is about confidence. You need to build that confidence by repetition. And the only way you can be able to gain that level of mastery through confidence is through practice. Like I've told you in the stories earlier on how I got to run for public relation officer before I ran for president. I also gave you examples on how I'm continuously training for like my uh, like my action star dream by learning some basics of MMA. And of course, once I get opportunity to to also do other a couple of other martial arts, I would love to really like learn stuff like taekwondo, karate, and the rest of them. But my point is, it's through practice that you actually start becoming shameless, because the territory does get more and more um familiar to you. And it's not surprising whenever you are asked to step up to that task. It's something that you have practiced 1,000 times. Okay, so you need to know that shamelessness is something you need to make part of your everyday, whatever it is you want to achieve, whatever it is you've set out to achieve. You need to know that you need to be shameless about shameless about what anybody will think. Because at the end of the day, the truth is that people don't actually think so much about us like how we actually think they do. So you need to just be shameless about your approach to things. So one of the things that has really helped me so much in building my confidence and becoming more and more shameless is rejection. I mean, a lot of people would try to avoid rejection because it doesn't feel good to be rejected. But when you've stepped into multiple rooms where you think you actually belong, you try to measure up to, when you've stepped into multiple rooms, when you've tried to hold on to job roles, when you've tried to grow on a personal level and even on a professional level, and you've gotten rejected, you've heard a lot of no's. For most of us, I mean, this is close to Valentine's season, and like personally, on a personal note, I've gotten a lot of rejection when it comes to relationship and love. But the only thing that this gives to you is it increases your shamelessness, because if you've heard no from a couple of women, ladies particularly, if you heard no, okay, I want to be in a relationship with you, or I want us to be in a relationship, and they tell you no, it only boosts your confidence to try again. I mean, to try another person, or to try in another different, you're able to recreate your elevator pitch that you're pitching for the relationship and do better. So it applies across board in all aspects of life. Rejection has really given me a huge motivational boost when it comes to being shameless. So shamelessness is the way to win. Is the way to win, and it's not about being shameless in terms of not not knowing what to put out there. Of course, whatever it is you want to put out. I'm talking about shamelessness when it has to do with selling yourself as a valuable person. So you need to be shameless. You really don't need to care about what anybody thinks. Wherever it is you are is a good place to start. In fact, when you realize that a lot of people have less and are doing far better than you are doing, you know that what you have is so much, what you have is plenty, and you just need to start from where you are. And like I would always repeat in all the episodes of this podcast, that we may hope to do better things tomorrow, but the best things are done today. The best things are done today. So I just want to inspire you this late evening according to West African time, that you need to be shameless. Be shameless in whatever it is you are selling. Even if you don't get anything from this life, just get that shamelessness is the way forward. Okay, and in order to be able to be shameless, you need to practice whatever it is that you're doing long enough. You need to repeat it over and over again. Yes, let people see you doing it. Let them laugh. Let them look at you as weird. What I realize is that people will soon get used to you. So people will soon get used to you. I mean, I've done a couple of social experiments, even during my last holiday, where I get to dress in a different way that has not been very consistent with my personal brand. And I find out that a lot of people will just ask questions like, okay, why are you dressing like this? And it even looks strange. They even get to call you names. Oh, they call you gangster, they call you a lot of names. But with time, they just get used to it and they see it as beautiful, they see it as attractive. And what I've always thought about is that no matter how shy you feel, the truth is that everybody will die. I mean, that's the equalizer. Death is the great equalizer. I mean, I'm not here to preach death, but my point is, in about 100 years, everybody alive, everybody living currently will not be alive. And what will matter more at that point? Will it be people's opinion of you, or how well you're able to show up for yourself, shamelessly, and do what you are meant to do? So I just want to encourage you this evening: be shameless in your selling, be shameless in getting what you need to get done fast and well. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't really matter what anybody thinks. What matters is what you think about yourself and what God thinks about you. This was actually an advice that I got while I was in high school, what we call secondary school here in Nigeria, that what people think about you doesn't really matter. What matters is what you think about yourself and what God thinks about you. Because at the end of the day, that's the true measure, that the measure and standard that you're going to live by. So like I said, I'm just encouraging you this evening: be very shameless about what you're doing. Don't fail to practice. Don't miss too many days in trying to do what you want to do, because I've realized that stacking your wins, no matter how small they are, gets is what gets to build confidence. I've been listening to people like Tony Robbins when he's talking about when elite athletes like Steph Curry, this guy practice 500 shots every single day. Can you imagine how many shots he has done over his career? He has done so much. And the same thing goes with every other thing we're doing. Even what I'm doing here, trying to increase my competence as a public speaker, and also showing up live to talk to people. It's changing something in me. And the more I continue to practice this is just I think the fourth episode. By the time I get to episode 300, you are meeting an entirely different man. You're meeting an entirely different Lawrence. Okay, so I just want to encourage you that we may hope to do better things tomorrow, but the best things are done today. So I'll be going live again in the morning, West African time, by 5 a.m. This is Formula for Everyday podcast. I come live every day, at least once, most times twice, morning and evening, just to encourage you, my audience, and whoever it is that I encounter online. For those that joined in, thank you very much for joining in. And until I come your way again in a few hours, I remain your host, Lawrence Nkwocha, and bye for now.